And today I'm joining with Jillian to launch her plan to further combat anti-Semitism. And I welcome this report and I thank her for the work that she has done.
Anthony Albanese, Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke, and the Prime Minister's hand-picked envoy on anti-Semitism, Jillian Segal, have just released a very comprehensive plan to tackle anti-Semitism in Australia. This plan comes after 2 years of terror and heartache for Jewish Australians, from the anti-Israel riots outside the Sydney Opera House just after the October 7 massacres, to attacks on homes, attacks on synagogues, attacks on Jewish restaurants. So what is this plan, and will it actually work in stamping out anti-Jewish bigotry in this country? So Jillian Segal's plan really targets universities, the arts, media, social media, and hate crimes. So the first big thing that she's going to do, and this is going to be very difficult, is try and ensure there's a universal standard on what is anti-Semitism throughout all levels of government and all of our public institutions. She's basing this definition of the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism. That is quite controversial with opponents of Israel and the Muslim community who believe it's far too broad, but it has been something that Jewish Australians have been calling for a long time. Universities have been a hotbed for anti-Semitism, attacks and vilification of Jewish students, Jewish teachers, obviously the constant protests and slanders against Jewish people and Israel. What the Segal plan will do is withhold funding from universities and academics who either facilitate, fail to stop, or endorse anti-Semitism. It will also put universities in the spotlight with report cards on how universities are helping Jewish students, how they're stopping anti-Semitism, and how they're ensuring that Jewish students have a free and equitable experience on campus. Art bodies are also facing losing their funding if they are supporting anti-Semitic writers, musicians, actors, etc. The Segal plan also takes a hit at public broadcasters like the ABC and SBS. The ABC in particular has been accused of allowing anti-Semitism through its channels. On security, the Segal plan doesn't go as far as some Jewish leaders wanted in bringing together all the federal and state police task force on anti-Semitism into one big counter-terrorism unit, but it will include the training of Home Affairs officials who are in charge of visas and allowing people into the country to spot and deport anti-Semites. It will also recommend that Tony Burke consider State Department-esque screening of visa applicants for anti-Semitism. Jillian Segal will also be working with states and territories on their hate crime legislations to make them stronger so that they can stamp out anti-Jewish vilification. Obviously, we have seen hate crime legislation come through the federal parliament last year, but she'll also be reviewing that legislation. The Prime Minister has definitely ramped up his rhetoric on anti-Semitism in this press conference. He has said, no matter your views on Israel, the vilification of individuals in this country has to stop. The actions of protesters who, for example, have been blocking for months his own electorate office in Marrickville in inner West Sydney, he says that kind of behaviour has to come to an end. But he's still defending his government's pro-Palestinian actions in the United Nations and his condemnation of certain actions by the Netanyahu government, despite Netanyahu himself claiming that the government's foreign policy has helped ferment anti-Semitism in Australia. Albanese is making it clear to his own base that he will still be condemning Israel when he feels it is necessary. So the question is, when will we start to see these actions in place, and will it bring down anti-Semitic attacks? Now, the government says it's already started on some of these recommendations, for example, with arts funding, but it wasn't very clear on what we will see immediately by the end of the year. So there are still big questions about whether this plan will work. But for now, Jewish leaders have really welcomed it. They say that they feel the government is finally listening to them on anti-Semitism, So it will now be up to the Prime Minister, to Minister Burke and Jillian Segal to make this plan work and to finally combat anti-Semitism in Australia.